Welcome to the Massimo Show. Hey, Jessica, welcome to the Massimo Show.
Hey there. How are you, Ron?
I'm always better when I see and speak with you. So thank you for asking. Jessica, we're so excited. I've followed you. I've watched you, and I've just seen your business continue to grow and grow and grow. Either I read or saw somewhere that you're actually now proctor, facilitator, teacher, lecturer at very prestigious Wharton School of Business. Is that accurate?
Yes, I teach at the Wharton School at their startup accelerator programs. There's been 4 different ones now over the past couple of years, and we focus on teaching entrepreneurs how to sell. And every time I go, 1 or 2 students comes up to me after and goes, how come we're not learning this in our curriculum? So unfortunately, it's because you need to have a PhD in order to teach there in the subject that you're teaching in. And there's no such thing as a PhD in sales, except the kind you and I have, the real life diploma of sales. So it's really interesting. So the MBA students who are particularly interested in building their own businesses.
Okay, so now, folks, you didn't realize this. We're talking to the doctor of sales herself.
Self-proclaimed.
So, Jessica, but before we get to how to sell for entrepreneurs, how to grow their business, you have your own business. In fact, like me, you have the privilege, the honor, or sometimes a challenge of working out of your home base. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get there. I'm going to take you way back, Jessica. Now, for you, it's not way back. It's probably just a couple of years ago. But for you, I'm going to take you way back to your high school years. What were some of your passions? And were you an entrepreneur then, or has this just been progressing through your career? Where were you?
So in high school, I was the theater nerd. I was in all the shows and singing and dancing and doing karate. So I guess all of those things are really on the creative side. As far as entrepreneur, that all came from my dad. He always told us, don't ever work for anybody else. When that's pounded into you from a young age, you grow up thinking that, geez, I better figure out a way to start my own business. So that was all part of that. So yes, he was an entrepreneur. So it kind of was part of our family and dinner conversations, but it never started my own business, didn't have like a lemonade stand or anything like that. The only sales experience I had was selling Girl Scout cookies. My parents were like, we're not selling those for you. You're going to go out there and sell them yourself. No, I grew up in New York City. So I'm going door to door and I'm like, kidnapping, what? But that was my first experience in sales. And even then people said no to delicious cookies from a cute little girl. So you really can't take it personally when people say no. It's a good lesson.
No, you can't. We have very similar fathers. And I grew up in New York and actually out Long Island, but my father was an entrepreneur. And I learned that, gee, there's something to not having corporate jobs, and really seemed like he was a lot happier when he left his corporate job. So you went off to college. And so when did the sales bug hit? Was it because of your dad, or how did you get into sales?
Like any family business, it's the thing you swear you won't do, right? I don't know if you felt the same way.
I'll tell you right now, when I left for Duke, my grad years, my father was a consultant, not a broker, but a consultant in the commercial real estate space. And my exact words, Jessica, to my father were, Dad, I love you. I will never, ever work in the commercial real estate industry.
And I was actually thinking about your dad before our appointment today, because I know we have that in common, how close we are to our dads and how extra close because of the business relationship too. Yeah, so he was the one that dragged me into it. So my father's specialty is bringing companies out of bankruptcy by building world-class sales teams. And he's even been invited to ring the bell at the stock exchange. When he brought the company public, they invited the sales director to ring the bell. That's how a huge part of their success was due to sales. And he did that many times over. And so the last one he built was in New York City. I had just graduated acting school. And he said, why don't you come with me to New York? They gave me an apartment. You can go audition and you work with me in sales and I'll teach you everything I know. And that was really hard to resist. I have a free apartment. And so that's how I learned how to both do sales and grow a business, because it was commission only sales. So from there, you take for granted when it's a family business how much you already know about something going in. Right? Like you guys talked about commercial real estate at the dinner table. I mean, we talked about recruiting and training sales teams. So I hit the ground running and built a team from there. So I built my team up to $40 million in recurring revenue, which was well over $100 million a year. Had my own office space with 30 reps and really learned how to build a business within a business there.
Yeah, wait a minute, Jessica.
Yeah.
A lot of our guests have this challenge or this gift, and I guess that's the best word for it. You have this subconscious confidence when you say things and it's like, I did this. Okay, yeah, whatever. And so you just share with us that you built this $100 million sales team. And I couldn't have been that old when you did this. Is that fair to say?
I was just approaching 30 when I left. So it started when I was 25.
Imagine this. You're in your 20s and you're building a $100 million sales team. So we got to get into how they did that. That's awesome.
It's interesting that you said that because it took me like 2 years into my business to even say that out loud because we were a private company. We weren't like a news breaking company that had investors and were making the news. And meanwhile, Salesforce was building at the same time. And I finally recently looked at the book, The Predictable Revenue that he wrote, the leader of the Salesforce sales team. And it was like how we grew a $100 million sales team. And I was like, oh, I did that. It's getting all this recognition for it. I definitely took it for granted, but it was also just the expectation. Nobody told me I was doing it. I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do.
This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a really quick break. And so if you haven't figured out by now, we're listening to someone who not only teaches at the Wharton School of Business, those that are startup sales to the entrepreneurs, everyone listening in this podcast, that's for you. She's built a $100 million sales team before the age of 30. That's absolutely phenomenal. But there's so much more to Jessica that we got to dive into as well. She's going to share with us how she built her own business, how she balances life and business like all of us working out of her house. So now you reached that goal. So let's talk about you first in your business. Let's talk about JPM. Let's talk about what you built. How long has that business been in place?
2014, we opened our doors.
And you use the word we. Is it you and others? How big is the business?
I always say we, but we run small. Originally, my father was an advisor to the company. So we always said we, and I thought I needed his background. Like you said, like you just already mentioned, like, oh, $100 million, no big deal. So I felt like I needed his face on my website and his background and expertise. And he's a published author. And then he really retired. He just living in the beach now. So now I'm on my own.
When I started the Massimo Group in 2008, the Massimo Group was me.
Yeah. Partners was actually a partner. And now there's no really partners, but I consider my clients my partners. So still.
My clients, my partners. Okay. So you had this business since 2014, going on 5 years. Congratulations. You used to grow. So let's get to some of the pillars of your business that we talk about a lot on the Massimo Show. And one is sales. So how do you sell a selling company, a training, coaching, sales consultancy? How do you sell that? What do you rely on to sell that service?
Growing up in sales, you realize it's not just about selling and closing. Everyone focuses on that. It's also about opening doors and opening relationships. So you really have to know how to do all of those. My business is really lean and mean intentionally. So when I was building my prior team, I had an office in Lower Manhattan and 30 people in and out, and office managers and flooding and office closures and construction, all that stuff. And I got really, really sick. And I think it was stress related. So I have Crohn's disease. And I mean, I've always had it, but I really feel like it was stress induced. And at that time I was like, how do I make my business run without me? And that's where I started learning a lot of automation hacks so that I could be literally in a hospital bed getting surgery and my business would be running on its own. So that's where I started learning this concept of automation and building a business. And then I read the 4-Hour Workweek and I said, oh, this is a different way of building a business. We don't have to be striving towards Fortune 500, right? That's not the only end goal of building a business. There's so many other types of businesses. So I decided that when I left, I was going to build a business and it was going to be lean and mean and 90% automated, as much as automation as I could. So all my marketing is automated as well. That doesn't mean I don't talk to people because I'm most effective when I actually have a conversation with people. But the more I could warm them up through my marketing efforts, the easier it is to close them when we actually do have a conversation.
Okay, so that's the operations processing side. And by the way, when I read the 4-Hour Workweek, my goal is in every book I read to get one sentence. If I get to one sentence, that changes the trajectory. And that one sentence to me in that book was, at that time, it was called elance.com. It's now Upwork.com. You use Upwork and it changed what we do in many ways.
I found my VA on Upwork 7 years ago, 3 businesses ago, and we're still together. Yep. He's in Bangladesh and he's amazing.
See?
He's gotten better over the years too.
Where is he located?
Bangladesh.
The audience is going to say, really? You're going to trust someone that's not in your office, at the very least, not in your city, or God forbid, across the country? Wait a minute. You're going to trust someone that's across the globe? So what's your experience with that?
No, I didn't trust him right away. So when we first started working together, the projects I would give him were very manual type research oriented tasks where I didn't have to share any passwords or anything like that. And we built that trust up over time. He's also not part of an agency and doesn't run an agency. He's completely solo. He works, his hours overnight, his time, and it's our time here. So now he does my editing, my video editing he's great at. And there's things that he's great at and things that he's not great at. So it's like any employee figuring out what they're good at and just letting them do those things.
But they're not an employee, correct?
But nope, absolutely not.
And is it fair to say, Jessica, this is where a lot of people get hung up. Is it fair to say that you're paying him less than you would pay yourself?
Oh yeah. And it's way more than he wanted. So it's win-win. When you're starting a business, it's a great way to be able, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to accelerate as I opened up my business because I would have been held back by my own limitations of time, which at the time was having 2 little babies, nursing a baby and a toddler running around. You need help. You need help to get things done. You don't have 24 hours, 7 days a week like someone else might have to build a business. It would take me a lot longer.
In fact, when I started the Massimo Group, we talked about that, I launched the company based on finding someone in India to research names and contacts and emails of certain organizations to help me launch the company. I went to bed, person in India got me all the names and numbers. I woke up and I was in business. It was just that simple. I was in business based on someone in India getting me a list to start calling and prospecting. And by the way, that list of 1,000+ names cost me $82.
Yeah, no, and now our team is built. And so we're an international team now. We definitely have people helping us here domestically. Canada, Australia, I've made great contacts around the world, have different skill sets, different point of views, and it's great to work with. Great to have to say you're an international business. And my clients are all over the world too.
So back to the original question, how does a sales expert sell? Facebook, LinkedIn, are you calling folks up? I mean, how are you actually selling your services?
I'll break it right down for you. In my mind, there's a clear difference of marketing and sales, right? Branding is like the thing that weaves them together, making sure you have a consistent messaging and brand. But marketing's just about drawing people in and nurturing people, getting to know them, or them getting to know you. And then sales is really helping them take action and change, which are pretty different things. Like when you think about the personality and the things that you're asking to do. So from a marketing perspective, we think about a funnel. So there's a funnel and you put as many things at the top of the funnel and slowly they drip through. So at the top of my funnel, definitely took Gary Vee's advice with my content marketing. And I saw you had him recording on your show. That's amazing. I'm so glad you went out and sat with him. That's his like office hours that he does, right?
Yeah, those are that 4 Ds. And in fact, he just put out a brand new content model last week.
Of course, now I have to change my whole.
No, much more comprehensive.
So it's all about being everywhere from a marketing perspective. So I do a similar thing like once a week. I have a commitment. It's the first thing I do every week. It's my 9 a.m. appointment is recording a podcast/video. And sometimes I have guests, mostly it's me, and I keep it to 10 minutes. It's super short. And I talk about something relevant that I'm passionate about regarding sales. So I'm teaching, I'm giving and teaching. And then I take that and I split it up in a million pieces and it goes on Twitter and it goes on Instagram and Facebook business, and then into my groups, YouTube. So I'm really trying to grow my YouTube following too, because YouTube's forever, whereas Facebook and Twitter are very short shelf lives. So I'm putting more focus into YouTube, especially since Google, that's a Google search engine too, so has much more visibility. So I do that once a week, so 10 minutes. I send that out to my trusty VA because he does the editing and clips and puts it together and posts it on LinkedIn, of course, LinkedIn too. Although there's such a different flavor on LinkedIn than on Facebook. So I also have Facebook groups, which are really powerful because they're people who wanted to be part of your community and opt in. Of course, a fan on Facebook, they really don't see much of anything that you post because of the algorithms. But Facebook's putting a lot of attention on groups this year. They announced it, I think, over the summer, right? Or September-ish. They're putting a lot of stress on groups. So I have a group for women bootstrapping businesses. There's a lot of activity in there. And then it goes out to my email list as well. iTunes, podcast, Spotify, where else am I? There's a Podbean is a great, I don't know if you use Podbean, but Podbean is our podcast broadcaster. So you put it in Podbean and it sends out the feed to like 15 different podcasting platforms. So you can be everywhere without as much work as it looks like. And then I load all of those into Meet Edgar, which is my favorite social media platform because that will recycle my posts automatically. So now I probably have things being chopped up and press mentions and anything, the articles that I've been mentioned in or that I think are super relevant, I'll put in there. So I've got maybe 500 to 600 different pieces of content in there that just automatically go get posted on their own. I don't even have to look at it once a week. Nothing like that.
He's definitely asking, what was that last one? Meet Edgar?
Meet Edgar. MEETEDGAR.com. It's phenomenal. It's more expensive than some of the other ones, but it's a set it and forget it type of social media broadcasting platform. So that's the top of the funnel. And then in addition to that, any speaking engagements that I do, those are lead generation. This is a lead generation source. Relationships, referrals, all of those get put into the top of the pipeline. I do a lot of networking here in Philly. Every single time I go to a networking event, I meet someone that gets me an introduction to someone else or becomes a client. So it's always a payoff for me to go to networking events. They all go on the top of the funnel. I always have some kind of free way to get on my email list because that's really what I feel like. If someone is willing to give their email address, they're really interested in what you have to say. You treat those like gold. So right now I'm giving out a free script, which is my 8-step closing code, 8-step process to closing the sale for B2B. So we'll get you to the link at the end. And then they're invited into, actually, it's the same training I give at Wharton every year, every semester. So I have that on a replay that they can watch. For now, at least, I typically change up my content, but right now it's the science behind why people buy. So they get to know me. And then from there, they either have a conversation about working one-on-one or joining one of my group programs, or they continue to remain on my email list and they continue to consume content. I have 2 clients that we just agreed to work together last week, and they've been on my list for 4 years. And I never knew their name or anything because they didn't interact in any type of way, but they say, I've been following you for 4 years now, and I finally thought I should give you a call. You know, it's like, maybe I need to work on my marketing if it's taking 4 years.
I'm sure you teach. We have this happen all the time, the Massimo group. For us, sometimes even 8, 9 years, it's just the right time for them. Sometimes people have to give themselves permission to engage, right? They just say a mental block or whatever. It's same reason people don't buy and give all the hesitations that we coach, right? I talk to my wife or a husband. I don't have the time. I'm too busy. It's too expensive. Eventually, those all melt away when you realize the same results are happening again.
Yeah. And if they come up to that conclusion on their own, I have an easy job once we get on the line. And so that's a highly qualified lead I've created. So sales becomes so much easier, but I do still follow my process because every time I don't make a sale because there is a psychology to why people buy. It's really difficult to change. It's very difficult to change and take action. And that is the job of a salesperson, to help someone through that process, to show them a different way of looking at things that they didn't see before. That's a massive responsibility.
Here's what we're going to do, because you're about to jump into our bonus section where we're going to talk about actually helping people sell. But what I've learned in the second section was this. Look, you work in your house. You certainly have a family. You've balanced this. You create this amazing company over the last 5 years. You share with us your sales funnel and how you market as well. It's just phenomenal, and how you leverage talent across the globe. These lessons can be applied to anyone listening to this podcast to help you grow your business. But we're going to actually help you sell more. And that's what we're going to do in our final bonus session with the one and only Jessica Magoch. So hang on. We'll be right back and share with you how to sell more. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we always tell our coaching clients that knowing isn't doing. That's right. Don't kid yourself. In fact, in my new book, Don't Kid Yourself, Knowing Isn't Doing, Build the Business and Life You Desire, I lay out many of our Massimo methods that we share with our clients to help them transform their lives. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, is going through a soft launch that will happen in March of 2020, and then a big national launch in September 2020. For more information, check out knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome back to the Massimo Show. And yeah, now it's time for our special guest, Jessica Magoch, to share with you some things to think about so you can sell better. So Jessica, welcome back to the Massimo Show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Jessica, is sales a science? Is it an art? Help us out there. And you're the artist, so maybe it is an art. And then help us out a little bit. So tell me, sales, science, art, what is it?
Yeah. So I've really been recently diving into this because so many people have said, you think your acting background helped you in sales. Now I write music. I don't know if I share with you, Rod, I just won the PHL Live Music Award for jazz. #1 jazz artist in Philly.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. You guys send us
so I write my own music.
No, seriously, you got to send us a soundtrack to put on the podcast. I want to do that. Okay. So send me a soundtrack to go with that. But
yeah,
they want to learn. They love jazz, my audience, but they also want to learn about sales. So tell me about.
So like any art, sales is just like learning how to paint or learning how to write or tell a story or write a song. And it starts out as a science. It starts out as a step-by-step process with tactics and techniques and a very tactical, technical way to get something done. And so any great sales process or class is going to start with some kind of solid foundation of skill, just like martial arts, right? It's very like tactical step by step, but you look at someone who's a 4th, 5th, 6th degree black belt, like they just fly. It's effortless. So you learn the basics first, but then what's the next step? So there's a huge difference between amateur and professional sales, right? So amateur sales is really taking that structure and step by step and then just stopping there with the basics. And it will get you results. Like it will get you some results. But then there's something beyond that, which is the art, the music of selling, the sound of selling, where you take that initial foundation and then you start to really make it a part of who you are and then just kind of float and dance with the customer instead of against the customer. So it becomes very comfortable for them. And of course, it's very comfortable for you. But sales is about moving people to take action. Because like Newton told us, object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. And people are no different. They don't want to change. And the more you push them, the more they don't want to change. So this idea of like hunter mentality in sales that's great to think about it that way, but do you want your clients to feel like prey? Because if your salespeople are hunters, then that means your clients are prey. I don't want my clients to feel like prey. So when you think about the art, whether it's painting or movies or music, your favorite types of art have moved you in some way, have changed you. Like you said, when you read a book, you pick that one sentence that's going to change your life and you hold on to that. And so sales is no different. You really are creating a story to help people move from where they are to where they want to be. And just like a story, it starts out with characters, which you can say is relationship, right? It starts out with two people, two human beings talking to each other and getting to know each other. And then there's conflict. They have a problem and they want to solve it, but it's going to be uncomfortable. And then the salesperson sometimes has to ask those hard questions to help the person take action because they can't do it on their own. That's why they're talking to you. Whether it's buying a piece of property or investing in a coaching program or buying a luxury car. If they just came in and handed you the money, gee, everyone would be in sales, right? It was that, I'm here to buy a $100,000 car. Here's my check. even if that happened, it's because the marketing did a great job before that person ever walked in the door to buy that car. So great art moves you and changes you in some way, and great salespeople do the same. They have the ability to change your mind, to help you see things that weren't there before. That's an incredible responsibility if you think about it. You're creating a new reality for them that did not exist before. They did not see it that way before you help them see it that way. But before you get to that point, there's friction. There's a little conflict. This is where most salespeople bow out and they go, I don't want them to hate me. I don't want to cause too much tension, or they start taking things personally and they're just taking orders. So my dad used to call it an order taker. 1 out of 10 people you'll sign up because you're an order taker and they were ready to buy without you. But the other 7 or 8 people needed someone to ask them the hard questions to get them to move to take action. And then you have the climax where the person says, yes, I've changed. And now they can't see it any other way. And again, that's an amazing responsibility and a power that you have as a salesperson, for good or bad. So I hope that you use it for good when you learn how to do that, because of course you can use it to manipulate people to do things that aren't good for them. People get that vibe right away. If you're in it for the money and you're walking in with that energy of, I got to pay my bills, and you just smells, it reeks like bad cologne. The client, the first thing they ask is, why are you here today? To themselves. Why is she here? Why is he here? Mm-hmm. They don't care about you paying your bills. No. Even paying your college kids, your son's education. They don't care. They want to know if you're there to help them. So with the right intentions, the process that's optimal, and all those together, the science and the art of selling, that's how you enter into the world-class sales performance, world-class sales teams.
Okay. You heard it here. And I know for a fact, if you want to figure out how to enter this world-class sales level, you can do it by working with Jessica. So how do folks get more of you? And I know we'll get the link up. How do folks get into one of the programs I just saw the other day? So share with us how to get more access to you.
So the easiest way is to grab that free script that I have available for you now. It's at freescript.jpmpartners.com. And there was one woman who downloaded the script and she used it the next day on the call and made a $15,000 sale. I was like, oh, I guess you don't have to work with me now. So I do that because I really want to help people and give them some small wins. So you will get wins if you use the script. So go ahead and download that at freescript.jpmpartners.com. But watch my training. I want you to get to know me and my style first, because I'm not for everybody. I'm not the right match for everybody. I have a particular style and a particular philosophy, and you've got to be on board with that if you're going to get results with me. So go ahead and listen to that. And then from there, we can schedule a call to talk about one-on-one or small group coaching programs with your sales team, or working with me through a group coaching program where you can join my accelerator program and work in a group situation for more affordable.
I just know it's symbiotic, but our group coaching program is actually called the accelerator program as well. So it's funny, but regardless, Jessica, I can't thank you enough for your very valuable time. I know how valuable your time is, your life as it is, and where you are. And it's fantastic for you to share this insight, help our audience be better at selling. And certainly to my audience, I fully 100% endorse Jessica and what she's doing, because I just think she's incredible. So Jessica, thanks so much for being part of today's Massimo Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone else, you know what I always say, don't kid yourself. Knowing isn't doing. Jessica shared some great knowledge today, but it doesn't matter unless you actually do it. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. Take care, everybody. I want to thank you for listening to this version of The Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and/or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. we provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at Massimo.coach. That's Massimo.coach.